gamification, and that money goes in a pot. But if you're obeying the law, your picture will also get snapped. You'll be entered into a lottery and win some of that money from those speeders.
So, einmal zum Spiel anmelden. Jetzt brauche ich noch jemanden. Hey! Und los geht's. So, wie ihr seht, ist das Ganze eine Pong-Variante mit Skateboard. Das ist ja ziemlich cool. Hier seht ihr dann auch die
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So do you watch the video? I hope you had. As you can see, the video shows about the use of games in a few countries. They had created and applied games in many ways. It created excitement and also made their community life become better. As game being used widely in many sectors, it also be used in the education sector. So in today's seminar, our group will present to you about gamification in science learning. I hope you will enjoy and take a lot of info that can be used in the future. So, let's start. First, let me introduce to you the 4 speakers that will explain their own part in this seminar. For the first part, introduction of gamification in science learning will be explained by Ms. Nurranajah binti Mustafa Kamar. Second, advantage and disadvantage of gamified classroom by Mr. Muhammad Daniel bin Zahar Halimi. Third, effect and issues in gamification by Ms. Atira binti Jamaluddin. And the last one, teaching techniques and guidelines by Ms. Nurjanatun Nasuha binti Camby. So, let's start our seminar with the first speaker, which is Ms. Nurranajah binti Mustafa Kamar.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I am Nurranajah binti Mustafa Kamar as the first speaker. So, I will talk about the introduction of gamification in science learning. So nowadays, games cannot be seen as something that negatively affect us. We just need to use it wisely and it will give a benefit from it. The usual use of game is to avoid boredness. So, others that help to avoid boredness in daily life, it also can help us to increase our knowledge in many things. Some game might look simple, but a lot of things can be learned in it. So the concept of gamification appeared in the early 21st century and it presented with multiple definitions and from various perspectives. The term originated in the business world. With its growing popularity, usefulness, and study of its application, the term is also used in education. So, what is the meaning of gamification? So, gamification is the use of game mechanics and experience designed to digitally engage and motivate people to achieve their goals. As in education, gamification is defined as an education platform which aims to internalize the external motivation of learners, provide feedback and rewards, Gamification is understood as the application of concepts and dynamics that are, strictly speaking, play-based in order to stimulate the teaching-learning process and make it more attractive so that students can work on specific curriculum content. It is about making knowledge more entertaining and motivating than it will be if it be presented in a traditional lesson. Games can make learning concepts more enjoyable for students and provide a platform for their creative thought. Games will often act as learning triggers, inducing lively discussion on learning concepts among students following gameplay. Effective games typically feature a series of goals or progression, clear rules, element of story, high interactive and continually feedback, including some kind of rewards. They may also incorporate social element of teamwork and communication. Games can enhance students' focus and motivation and can provide the freedom for students to try, fail, and explore. To make it simple, gamification helps increase the interest, participation, motivation, and loyalty of the learners. Next, students love playing games as it is enjoyable, and most students nowadays say that science subject is really difficult to understand. So it is a really serious matter for the teachers to gain their students' interest back. So in learning science, as gamification involves using game-based elements such as point scoring, peer competition, teamwork, help students assimilate new information and test their knowledge. The teacher can use all of this to make the topic become more interesting and become more understandable. Teacher can show students the world of science and its application beyond the classroom because they can present big ideas and allow for deep exploration, which takes significant time. Next, you might heard about gamification and also game-based learning, right? Is there any difference between the two of them? Yes, there are some differences that can be seen as in the table. So first difference is the concept. Gamification is the idea of adding game elements of a non-game situation, while game-based learning or GBL is use of game to enhance the learning experience. So next, the objective. For gamification, is learn a motivation from the game, while GBL is to achieve the game motivate students. Next, the challenge that faced by gamification is looking for a new way to approach the challenge because most of the game is repeated and so the teachers need to find new things so it will attract their students to play it. While for game-based learning, the challenges are part of the game must be solved. So if the question cannot be answered, the student will stick to the question until it be solved correctly. Okay, so for example of gamification in education is Brainscape, Kahoot, Newport, Quizzes, and Virtuonomics. While for GBL, game-based learning, for example, is SimCity, Civilization, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, and also Portal. Gamification operates on the assumption that the engagement experienced by the gamer should be translated to the learning context. This will eventually influence the behavior of the students while facilitating learning at the same time. So now let's move to the next slide, which is about the principle of gamification. There are 4 principles of gamification that I will explain to you, which are first, freedom to fail, freedom to experiment, freedom of identities, and also freedom of effort. First, freedom to fail. The use of gamification is to learn about something and refresh the knowledge that we had. So it is okay to fail and getting loose in the game. Take it as experience and learn from mistakes. The teacher should not scold their students just because they lose the game. Second, the freedom to experiment means that the learner can use any type of gamification that they know and they want, such as Kahoot, Newport, although they only want to learn about the same one topic. experiment using games will help to identify the understanding of what we learn on the subject. Next, freedom of identities means that the learner or student can choose whether to show their name or not in the game. Some of students prefer to keep their name in privacy whilst others don't, so it is a freedom for them about their own identities. Lastly, freedom of effort. It means that the students can play the games with full focus or casually play the games. The use of gamification is not to stress out the students but to let the students gain knowledge with fun. So, the teacher should not make something that's stressful to play, okay? Lastly, is gamification effective? Generally, gamification has been shown to be tremendously effective, both in educational setting, e-learning setting, and even for corporate companies using it to train their employees. What do you think? For me, gamification is effective as it can be played into our basic needs in learning. Second, games can be social as players may be able to challenge their friend or invite others to play. Thirdly, games encourage ongoing engagement. The gamification helps to retain the users by encouraging them to keep playing and gain more points, rewards, or simply discover more information about the topic. And the last one is game give players or the learners control, which help them to be more confident in making decisions. So that's all from me about the introduction of gamification in science learning. I hope that you get new knowledge and information from my explanation. So now let's move to the second speaker, which is Mr. Daniel.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to my fellow friends and also Ustaz Mubarak. My name is Muhammad Daniel bin Zahanini, and for today I would like to present regarding the advantages and disadvantages of gamification in science learning. So as you can see the slide here, I will proceed to the first point. Gamification in science learning can increase to the engagement. Students are more likely to spend time playing a learning-based game if you as a teacher are using a reward system, such as badges and points that help translate the work of the students when the student is completing in the work into a tangible benefit. And you as a teacher, you can see a rise in learning retention as students able to relate the content easier through practice rather than just reading or watching a lecture. So I will proceed to the next slide. Gamification can also create enthusiasm. Gamification can be used to foster feelings of enthusiasm towards the subject matter, especially that students struggle with, such as mathematics subjects. By creating a gamified system with rewards, we are able to see the difference in the classes and students as they will becoming excited and competitive while learning. So the next point is, gamification can also provide instant feedback. It allows instant feedback such as leaderboards, which students can use to see where they stand among their peers. By using this information, we as a teacher can push students to try the quiz again and again so that they can get a higher performance, higher placement, and create motivation to further their lesson enjoyment in the class. So we proceed to the next slide. Gamification in science learning will also make social interaction or social connection. While the students seated and virtual in their home, it will help students who have trouble with social interaction and give them a reason to work together in the class or in their home. So this is true if you create team competitions that require students to collaborate among their peers in the classroom. Next, gamification can place students within the system where they can safely manipulate and explore function very well. For example, one of the game is Supercharge. This is the game from MIT Education Arcade, where students safely explore how charged particles interact in a stimulated space environment. It means that students can sit and explore the charged particle virtually, so that they can understand better and better instead of using textbook only. So I will proceed to the last advantages of gamification in science learning. It can exist with the transfer of learning to real world context of problem. The process or the problem solving in gaming develops problem solving among students, so that they can face a real world situation, they can solve the problem easily. So this is some of the advantages of gamification in science learning. So now I will proceed to the disadvantages of gamification. So I will proceed to the first point. It will decrease the student's attention span. Why I say so? This is because every game requires fast-paced and immediate feedback. It will create a problem with students' attention span, because if the game has a fast pace, so it requires students to pick up the pace really well. If not, they will lag behind. And students may begin to expect some kind of same kind of response from all part of their education, and they will find it significantly, and thus this will lead to student frustration. And the second part of disadvantage of gamification obviously is about costing. It's all about money. This is because every game has a variety base of type of system used in each of the game. So for example, this can be equipment cost, software cost, and also training cost for instructor, which is we as a teacher in future. And sometimes the cost may pass to the students, such as registration fees, coach fee, and other fees, because the students need to be trained well to take part in the game, and also they must understand the software well before they play the games. And this will create a higher barrier for entry into the classroom for the students. Next is about student assessment. When we as a teacher use a game, obviously not all of the game can fit into our objective and also our assessment. This is because it's not easy to find a good fit between the games and on the market, and also about the cost material. So this can be a time consuming for us as an instructor to plan the game, to implement into our class. So for the next point, discuss about the game logistic. As we can see that every game, if we as a teacher, we have to find a place to set up, we have to think about the internet coverage, we have to think about the software needed, and also the technical needed to set up the game. So of course it requires a lot of prior planning and also the logistic for the game. And you have to ask questions to yourself, such as will students be able to play the game at home, and is there any additional cost if they use it outside of the classroom, such as cyber cafe and also other places that require them to use internet. Students have to require access to computer internet. So this issue will come out if the students of low income family may not have the technology availability to them to support at home. And some of the school district also do not have their own specific budget to buy the technology such as computer, laptop to support the gamification in the classroom or in the lab. in a computer lab. So for the last point, for disadvantage is the gamification will lead to overstimulation or addiction to the students. This is because students will always play the game again and again to score a higher mark and will forget about other subjects and only focus on the game only. So it is quite dangerous to students, especially to focus on the game because it may affect their health and also their mental. So that's all from me regarding the advantages and disadvantages of gamification in science learning. I hope all of my members will get something from my presentation so that we can use it in the future and also for our practical in the next few months, insyaAllah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Thank you Daniel for explaining advantages and disadvantages of the gamification. So, I am Atira and I will be explaining to you guys about the issue and effect related to the gamification in learning science. So, these are the issues that often being debated and discussed by the research, which is first is difficulty in managing classroom, the second one is limited time in completing activities, the third one is not effective to all students, and the last one is the limited time to prepare gamification materials. So let me move to the first one, which is the difficulty in managing classroom. According to the Capsule Blue 2019, teachers have difficulty to control the classroom when students use gamification application. So, as we all know that all gamification application is based on technology, right? And when we deal with technology, there is a possibility to have the technological problems during the implementation. So, this problem may affect the classroom environment and the classroom schedule. So, teacher need to solve this problem, and at the same time, teacher also must to control the student. And this is the difficulty that teachers are facing when deal with the technology. So, let me move to the second one, which is the limited time in completing activities. According to the Capsule Blue 2019, gamification application take too much time and affect course and subject planning. Teachers have limited time to complete the games and activities, and the time that usually allocated for science subject is about 30 minutes per session. So, for example, chemistry subject is allocated 60 minutes on Wednesday, and if the teacher plan to do gamification learning, the student need to walk to the ICT or the interactive room, and this take about 10 minutes for them to reach the room. And so, can you imagine that if the school have not enough facilities or computer to for gamification learning, and the student need to share the facilities among them, and this may take extra time to make sure that each of the student have experience to learn via gamification approach. So some of the teachers said that if the gamification is not implemented, they able to use the extra time to revision or to finish the syllabus. So let me move to the third one, which is the not effective to all students. According to the Khan and Ahmad 2017, teaching with digital games may enhance learning outcome, but it may not equally effective for all students. Learning preference for boys and girls may be vary and differ. This is because boys are prefer to play action game, while girls is preferred to play puzzle or simulation games. The different type of game and the different type of genre game lead to the different engagement and learning outcome. Few studies state that the girl is more engaged than the boy on use gamification learning approach. So this is because some of them do not interested with the gamification such as Kahoot, because this make them feel very bored because the gamification is based on education. So last but not least, which is the limited time to prepare gamification material. According to the WHO 2017, gamification take a lot of effort to prepare and design the implementation. So in few study, teachers said that the gamification need a lot of time to prepare it, whereas we know that teachers are preoccupied with reports, paperwork, meeting and others work. So this heavily workload prevent teacher to focus more on student and to prepare the gamification material. So let me move to the next, which is the effect of the gamification in learning science. So for the effect of gamification in learning, there is 4 effects that commonly stated in the article, which is first is create enjoyable learning environment. The second one is able to draw students' attention. The third one is able to observe students' understanding. And the last one is provide platform to develop student skill. So let me move to the first effect, which is create enjoyable learning environment. So according to the Capsule Glue 2019, the application gamification may allow students to have more fun in classroom compared to the traditional instruction method that commonly used today. So previous studies state that students feel bored in science class and very difficult to learn. But when gamification is implemented in the science subject, they feel very enjoy and very excited to learn about the science, and the learning environment become more fun. With gamification learning, we can see that it changed the student perception towards science subject from negative to positive perception. So let me move to the second effect, which is able to draw student attention. According to the Alababsi 2017, gamification encourages students to participate more in discussion. This is because when they being rewarded with more points every time they participate in the discussion, it will motivate them to participate more and more in the classroom. And this is one of the constructive learning approach that ensure the learner are actively participate during the learning process, and the learner itself as the center of the teaching learning process. So the gamification able to make students actively engage in the classroom. For the third effect, which is able to observe students understanding quickly. So according to the Capsule Glue, the application could help teacher to observe student learning quickly. This is because with the application, teacher can see whether the student's answer was correct or wrong, and they could recognize the level of the student's learning or understanding toward the subject. And it saves more time compared to the traditional method, which is teacher need to check and calculate the student's answer one by one. So next is instant feedback from the teacher can effectively motivate students to perform better in learning. And this statement also supported by Jaggers and Shu 2016 and also Joyner 2014 stated that online courses designed such as gamification encourage teacher to notify and clarify the subject key component to student. And last but not least, the fourth effect, which is provide platform to develop student skills. According to the Alabasi 2017, game elements to increase students' curiosity of deep exploration of learning management system. It developed problem-solving skill that encourage active discovery. So, this skill develops students' self-directed learning, which is allow the student to create their own learning strategies. The use of game approach like gamification able to improve ability to learn new skill by 40%, stated by Jiang 2013. By learning a new thing, student able to gain new skill or develop their current skill. For example, in gamification, the student need to interact with their classmate and even in the virtual environment. And this develop their social skill and also technological skill. With gamification, student able to acquire more skill in one approach. Like one of the items says that you can kill 2 birds in one stone. And that's all from me. Let's proceed to Jannah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurjanatul Nasuha binti Kemli. So today, I would like to present about teaching technique and teaching guideline in gamification in science learning. So first, let's take a look at teaching technique in gamification. There are 4 teaching technique in gamification, which are: first, leaderboards or ladders; second, batches everywhere; third, levels for the learning journey; and fourth, class-wide reward system. Now, let's take a look at first technique, which is leaderboards or ladders. Leaderboards visually display students' progress on a particular activity. Leaderboards also used for student behavior, independent reading, attendance, or homework submissions. Leaderboards also visually display student progress on a particular activity, as you can see at the picture beside this. However, according to Landers 2015, cautious must be taken when teacher constructing a leaderboards, because displaying all students in order of point totals can be a disincentive for students at the bottom. Teachers should consider using a system in which students see only the 2 students who are directly above them and below them, in order to foster a healthy sense of competition without discouraging students who are performing poorly. The second technique is batches. Based on Seeker and Ozami 2017, when using gamification in education, teaching and learning activities are refined using points and badges, which have been transformed into classroom setting. Learners will acknowledge their achievement easily by receiving basic or custom badges, as you can see at the picture beside this. Badges used in class can also increase intrinsic motivation of students on doing assignments. If you are wondering what is badges, badges is actually a digital way to acknowledge student work. For example, students might receive a badge if they achieve certain levels of success on assignment, or if they do additional work such as submitting a draft or sharing notes with another student. Student badges may be displayed to other learners in the class as a means to encourage competition or to demonstrate the variety of badges which can be earned. The third technique is levels for the learning journey. Leveling up is a motivator in any game and one that can be applied to the learning. Teacher must break a single learning goal into levels that learner must pass before moving on to the next stage. Teacher also should consider making the activities and resources for each level available at once. That way, learners can advance through them at their own pace. The last teaching technique for gamification is class-wide reward systems. Reward systems are a major motivational factor in gamification of learning. A reward could be anything from a name at the top of leaderboard, a merit award, or a virtual certificate in gamified learning program. But the teacher must remember one thing: to not let these rewards become the primary motivation for learning. Also, one tips for teacher: rewards don't have to be reserved for those who win, but reward students who have set a new personal best, demonstrated an impressive level of effort, or work well with peers while playing the game. Now, we are going to look at teachers' guidelines in gamification. There are 4 guidelines for teachers, which are: first, keep learning objective close. Second guideline is technology competency. Third guideline is monitor progress. And fourth guideline is analyze and take action. Now, let's take a look at first guideline in gamification, which is keep learning objective close. When teachers keep learning objective close, it will help students achieve the required knowledge and skills. By doing so, teacher should create several relevant assignments options, such as quiz or test. Teacher also should select a content area that lends itself to assignment choice. All classroom gamification should have a purpose that supports the learning. That's why it is important for a teacher to choose an objective for the game. There are 3 main objectives that teacher might consider, which are: first, general instructional objective, such as completing an activity or assignment. Second, specific learning objective, such as developing an understanding of a specific concept, showing progress or mastery. And third, behavioral objective, where the game is designed to promote positive behavior, engagement, or attention. Whatever objective the teacher chooses, make sure they are clear to the students. They will lend the game a sense of purpose and ensure it's a vital part of the learning journey. The second guideline in gamification is technology competency. After determining teaching objectives before, another consideration to implementation is technological knowledge. The teacher must be proficient in technology use. Teacher must be able to problem solve basic technology issues that commonly arise during implementation. And teachers also must be knowledgeable about the capabilities of the LMS. For example, LMS, Learning Management System, will be very useful in assessing and managing assignments and relevant class content. This means that teacher must be knowledgeable about the capabilities of the LMS and be able to articulate said capabilities to their students. Do you know what is the example of learning management system? The third guideline in gamification is monitor progress. Teachers need actively involved in providing instruction, and also teachers need actively involved in assessing student learning. And lastly, teachers need actively involved in giving a regular feedback. With these 3 guidelines, students can understand how they are progressing through the material or course. In a gamified classroom, teacher must provide regular feedback to students so they can better predict what their grade is and will be. And also, it will plot out a plan to achieve the grade they ultimately want to earn. The last guideline in gamification is analyze and take action. Once teachers have their LMS up and running, teacher must analyze their learners' reaction. As for example, teachers must see what's triggering them most, check how they interact with the platform and to each other, and teacher also need to download the activity reports to see if someone in class is leaving behind in the learning process and find the reasons behind it. Now, we are come to the conclusion. Teachers are the one who knows the students better. So, implementation of gamification in the school level has to be planned and carried out by teachers whom teach the subject and familiar with the students with the guidance from specialist teacher in the field or subject. And employing a gamified approach to teaching can help empower students to take charge of their own learning and motivate them to be more engaged. Now, we reach to the end of our slide presentation. Let's proceed to the discussion in class. See you there!